goals for the conference?
Well, mostly education and networking. One of the things that we focus on with this conference is we get a lot of folks from out of state, national experts to really teach us about the link and the various research efforts that are underway so that we can get the latest and greatest information to people here in New Mexico that are out on the ground. We have everything from judges, district attorneys, social workers, animal control officers, police officers, nurses, teachers, you name it. We try to get folks there that are interested in working on either children, domestic violence, or animal abuse issues. It's the first time that these people have ever been in the room together with each other. So that's a real valuable tool for us, is just for one day having all these different folks from different walks of life actually learning about what each other does and how they can work together if they see any kind of family violence.
We need to, number one, be abreast of all of the latest research and information. It helps raise awareness. It gives us ideas of how we can raise that awareness within our schools and the families that we work with. And it's also a bond to know that there are a lot of people out there that are aware and that we can work together to raise that awareness.
For me, I'm looking to make a lot of connections today. We're a brand new organization, and it's so important for me to be able to know the right people to go to who have the right resources, the right research and information on this issue. And especially when I go to domestic violence shelters and try to explain to them how important it is to house animals on site with domestic violence survivors, I need to have the facts to back that up. And I think there might be some convincing that needs to be done, and I hope that today's conference gives me that information.
I was interested in the concept of using animals. Animal-assisted therapy has been used for a long time. I think for me, looking at how I can incorporate that possibly into my practice in the future, how I could use this with people who have been victims of domestic violence, and how it might actually help people with substance abuse. You'll find that people with substance abuse, some of the defining factors with why they get clean or what keeps them from going completely overboard is their animals. Like, they will actually use the animals as a reason not to cross that line.
The comment I would like to make about the link is I think that the organizers have been so dedicated and so committed. I think what they've done is incredible. It's so important. I'm hoping that we get a lot of PR on this to say that it's out there. We're seeing horrific situations in our state and I'm sure around the world.
These conferences are important because it reinforces what we have to do as part of the solution to the problem. We have to educate people. We are a part of helping people heal. So whatever I can gain from those who are experts in the field is extremely important for me to be able to do my job better. I hope to always be able to take away something from a conference of this nature, learning more about the research that's been done, connecting with people who are involved in the link, connecting with people who are in the community, and helping to make real change.
One of the things that we get on the evaluations at the end of the day is, I'm a district attorney and I've never ever talked to an animal control officer before. I've never spoken to a social worker before. And so just having those networking opportunities so that now if you're an animal control officer and you're in the field and you see something that you think might be child abuse or you see something that might be domestic violence, you have a reference point, somebody to call and ask them about it, or you have a memory of, oh yeah, I remember this from that conference, that might be something I need to report. It could be some form of family violence. I think when we first started doing this conference, police officers had never actually done a lot of work with animal control officers at all. And now we have partnerships that are forming in the community between sheriff's officers and animal control officers. They're actually forming teams and going out in the community and doing their work together. So, and that's a perfect example of what we want to see happen in all these different areas. We want these folks to not only get to know each other, but to work together to solve these problems. A couple of different areas that I'd like to see better attendance from. One is judges. We do have some judges that attend, but one of the major things that we would like to get information out to folks about is the Anacare and Anacare Child therapy methods. If someone's in trouble for animal abuse, they could actually have a sentencing that includes mandatory Anacare or Anacare child treatment. But we don't have a lot of judges that are using that. And so if we could have that treatment as a requirement under some sentencing in New Mexico, I think that would be really helpful. The other area that we'd really like to see more attendance from is veterinarians. Veterinarians see a lot of animal abuse, but they also see the people who are coming in with those animals, and we want to make sure we get those folks educated to know the signs of, say, child abuse or domestic violence. So if they're seeing something that's questionable, they know where to go to help those people.
It's important to have conferences like this, the Connection of the Link, in New Mexico, for not only people such as therapists to understand how important this connection is, but for people that deal with other people in the community, such as juvenile corrections officers, animal control, judges, lawyers, teachers, all areas of the society, to be involved and understand that there is a link between animal abuse and people violence, and that how their involvement with people and animals can help reduce this kind of violence.
Well, after attending the New Mexico conference 2 years ago, I got a lot of positive inputs from all the people that were attending the conference. Being a speaker was, of course, a privilege, but it was only a little part. What it was important for me was everything that I learned from everybody, not only from speakers, but also from all the people that were attending. I felt really privileged to hear a lot of testimonies from social workers, from law enforcement agents that were sharing their stories and how they would act when they would encounter domestic violence or animal abuse case. So to me, it was really powerful. I really learned a lot. So all this knowledge, I put it together and tried to share it back home in Barcelona, but not only Barcelona, all around Spain, and also afterwards when I traveled in Latin America as well. Like, it was important to show people that the only way, to me, the only way to fight violence is to work together. I work as a medical doctor, but I have to work with vets. I have to work with social workers, with law enforcement agents. Otherwise, we're not going to help the victims. So to me, we really have to have this multidisciplinary approach to violence. And in that sense, the New Mexico conference was very, very valuable for me.
We have a very unique situation. We have a very rural, very poor state. And so we have, say, an animal control officer in a very rural part of New Mexico that perhaps never has any training. Their training budgets are almost nil. And so we offer this training. It's free. We'll actually pay their mileage to get them here. We'll pay for them a hotel room to stay here overnight so that they can come and be in the room with these better funded, Albuquerque, Santa Fe folks so that they can learn the same thing. It's really important that we not just focus on the link in metropolitan areas. There's a lot of abuse, family violence happening in rural areas. And until we can get this training to everyone in the state that needs it, we're not doing the animals or children or domestic violence victims a good service. We had a record number of scholarship requests this year. That scholarship request is meal reimbursement, mileage reimbursement, and a hotel room to get here. We had more than we've ever had before. Every year the number has grown by leaps and bounds. And the conference evaluations all show that they are getting a lot of value from it. And it's very, very positive on their behalf. They all want to, thank us and say how useful it is that they now have somebody, say, at the Roundhouse or in Santa Fe that they can call with questions. Lots of folks, for example, don't know that Patricia Fieser exists, Patricia Norris now, down in Doña Ana County. She's our only forensic veterinarian in the region. So now they have her, not only know about her, but they have her contact information to call her with questions or when they need assistance with the case. So it's a really big, important thing to have folks know each other within our state. It certainly was never our intent to attract folks from outside of New Mexico because our funding, especially at the beginning, was provided by Governor Richardson and the state. But we've always attracted people from other states and as far away as Spain. And every time we get one of those registrations, I'm so excited. I call them up and say, how did you find out about us? And it's always just, oh, so-and-so went last year and told us about it and we want to come. We certainly can't provide scholarships to anybody coming from out of state or certainly out of the country, but they pay their own way here, and it's really valuable, I think, for them, but also for us and our folks from New Mexico to learn, what are people in Spain doing? What different approaches do they have in Florida? We've had folks from Maine. Those kind of comparisons in these smaller group settings are really helpful to us as well. We don't have anybody else that's having a yearly conference on the link. We do have a National Link Coalition, and I'm a member for New Mexico. I represent New Mexico on that coalition. But as far as a statewide conference goes, no. We've been talking to some other link coalitions around the country and ASPCA about potentially taking the kind of conference we do here in New Mexico and expanding it, making it a regional conference, doing it in a couple of different areas around the country so that we can take this kind of localized training to others that could benefit from it as well.
I've been working in the social networks and telling people what the speakers are saying and what's going on here at this conference. The comments from the rest of the world are so positive. Like, oh, when are we going to have a conference like that? I mean, people from Yucatan, people from all over Spain, people from Latin America, were really following what was going on today here. So my message would be that you're making history, not only for New Mexico, but also for the rest of the world. So keep it up.